This is a fishing story. It didn't exactly happen down east, but I think down easters can relate. I used to work on a cattle ranch in eastern Oregon. And every summer, during June and July, we'd put up hay. After the roundup, after the branding. It was really hot in the fields, and usually the day began at 6 and ended at 6 in the evening, with a 2-hour lunch break and a big meal there at noon. That went on for 7 days a week. Anyway, we finally got the last bale stacked, and the boss said, "Okay, take the weekend off." Well, I was glad of that. I got up that next morning, and grabbed my fishing tackle. There was a place on the Fox Creek at the lower end of the valley with kind of a sunny bank beside it. I kind of thought there might be some trout in there. Along the way there, I picked up a bottle of whiskey. Old Granddad, I think it was. One of the ranch hands had it stashed there in the haystack. Actually been there since last winter. We used it to warm ourselves a bit in the 10 below winters when we fed cattle out of there. Anyway, I headed down to that sunny bank, across some pretty parched fields that had already been mowed, when I realized I didn't have any bait. Well, I started looking around, and there was a snake, a rattler. I'm not afraid of rattlers. It was headed across in front of me. I'll be darned if that snake didn't have a cricket in his mouth. Well, I grabbed that snake, right behind his ears, and held his tail down with my foot, and I pulled that cricket right out of his mouth. I hauled up the snake and threw him out away from me, and headed on down to the fishing hole. I got myself situated there on the bit of grass beside the bank. Then I got myself real comfortable and took a couple of drinks of that whiskey. Then I got to thinking about that snake. I thought that poor old guy was probably headed home to feed his babies or take that cricket to his mama snake. Damned if I didn't start feeling a bit guilty. So I set my pole down, and I picked up the whiskey, and I went back to find that snake. Sure enough, there he was, a little farther across the field. I swear he had a sad look on his face. I grabbed him behind the head and lifted him up and poured a slug of whiskey down his mouth. Well, I went back to the fishing hole and got my line in, baited with that cricket, and dropped the line in the water. Then I kind of laid back against a rock there in the sun. I kind of drifted off a bit, the whiskey making me quite mellow in this warm sun. It must have been a good 20 minutes, something like that, when I felt something nudging my pant leg. Well, I looked down, and I'll be darned if it wasn't that same snake nudging my pant leg. And I'll be darned if he didn't have another cricket in his mouth.